my dear friends, and welcome back to another video. So outside of Star Wars Celebration, it's been a little while since we had updates for Andor Season 2, but today we do have one. The second season of one of my favourite Disney Plus shows is returning to a familiar location. Now we know Season 2 is going to include some new planets, as well as ones we've seen in the original trilogy, Rogue One, the prequels, but today we have confirmation that Season 2 is returning to Segra Milo, Saw Gerrera's base that we saw in the first season. So exciting because I definitely want more Saw. I believe Forrest Whitaker, who had a very small amount of screen time, was a huge highlight of that show. So this comes from Dorset Live's website. They say the following: film crews have returned to a quarry not so far away in Dorset to film the second season of Star Wars Andor. The Star Wars series takes place before the events of Rogue One and focuses on the early formation of the rebellion, and film crews are returning to Winspit Quarry ahead of a second stunt of filming later this month. Now we do know some of the cast and crew went to film in Valencia in Spain. There was a Mon Mothma scene where she officially meets Cassian, we saw Luthen, some fans believe it could have been Chandrilla, but this is for Saw Gerrera scenes with Forrest Whitaker, the Segra Milo partisan base. Filming on this base continues until April 29th, and this time they're filming there for longer than for season 1, so plenty more Saw Gerrera scenes to come. Now we know he's an extremist. He will do whatever it takes to take down the Empire, even if it means killing civilians. So I expect to see more of the brutality from Saw in the second season, also how he gets the majority of his injuries. We hear about some of these in the Beth Revis book, but Tony Gilroy is going to prioritize the storytelling on screen, so some of those details could be retconned, expanded upon, or changed. Probably the same way they're going to retcon the Cassian comic where he met K2SO. He wants to tell a fresh version of that story. And just like Mon Mothma leaving the Senate, there is going to be some overlap in Saw's story with when we saw him in Star Wars Rebels. And you know, I think there's a lot to look forward to in Andor Season 2, especially if you're a fan of Rogue One and maybe some of the more classical tropes of Star Wars. Tony confirmed planets like Yavin 4, and that opens up the possibility of tons of familiar rebels, but cameos aside, also scenes that feel a lot like A New Hope, so some very cool stuff to look forward to. And so now my dear friends, we're going to be talking about the Ahsoka show. After all the announcements at Star Wars Celebration, fans were very excited when Rosario Dawson said she hopes Ahsoka gets a season 2. Well, it turns out, according to a new report from the HR, The Hollywood Reporter, a second season is not yet guaranteed, because apparently according to this rumour, Dave Filoni's 2026 Mandoverse era film is gonna function as a second season, a combination of Mando, Book of Boba, Skeleton Crew, and Ahsoka, so that's where the story's gonna continue. And they also note that back in September of 2022, Natasha Liu Bordizzo, who plays Sabine Wren, said she's sad because it's almost over. Quote, hopefully we get a sequel. So it doesn't sound like the cast know either. It's pretty uncertain at this time. Now obviously, given that money talks, it's very unlikely Ahsoka's just gonna get the one, and it's very likely the show does well, meaning there will be more seasons. But then again, we said the same thing about the Kenobi show, and that never came to fruition. Even Kathleen Kennedy said, at this time, they have no plans on season 2. But hopefully, with the Ahsoka show, a season 2 does get made. Let's see what the show's like when it drops, in August of this year. And beyond Ahsoka and Skeleton Crew, there could be more shows in the Mandoverse. It might not be limited to these. We might get a Thrawn show, an Ezra show, and series that build off of the movie in 2026. In other Ahsoka news, Hunger Games actor Wes Chatham has joined the live-action show. According to Deadline, he's going to play Grand Admiral Thrawn's right-hand man, and some fans think this could mean he's playing Eli Vanto, but I don't think so, because the Making Star Wars leaks say this character's called Enoch, although that might be a codename. Now, a big character from Star Wars Rebels returning in the Ahsoka show, but this time in live-action, is Hera Syndulla, everyone's favourite space mum, and thanks to a Lego leak, we know that Jason Syndulla, her son, is going to appear as well. Now, while Mary Elizabeth Winstead is the one taking on the live-action version of the character, we must never forget the amazing role Vanessa Marshall played in voicing the character in the first place. Now, despite the recast, taking to Instagram, she said, quote, I'm so excited to watch this with my Star Wars family. This trailer is everything. Congratulations to all involved. She then refers to herself as a weeping fangirl and is very excited after the footage shown at Star Wars Celebration. Unfortunately though, she was unable to to attend. She is fantastic, and while I wish the best of luck to Mary Elizabeth Winstead, Vanessa Marshall will always be the original voice of Hera Syndulla, one of my favourite characters in Star Wars. And so now we have a Mandalorian update. Did you know Charles Baker's Mandalorian character, one of the surface Mandos which many fans think could be suspicious and part of Gideon's plan, wears a B2 battle droid head as a pauldron. B2s were introduced in Attack of the Clones, and then of course in the Clone Wars Revenge of the Sith. They were also the type of droids that killed Din Djarin's parents, and we saw them in Chapter 22, one of the most controversial episodes of The Mandalorian. There were references to the CIS. Hellgate, who was Christopher Lloyd's character, said that Count Dooku was a visionary, so there has been lots of separatist referencing. And not to mention in Jedi Survivor, which comes out later this month, there are some more reprogrammed separatist droids. Could this be a sign that Charles Baker's character is a bit sus? Some fans think yes. And so finally, my dear friends, on the subject of Star Wars Ahsoka, Ivanna Sakhno, who plays Shin, Baylan's apprentice, Dark Jedi assassin to Thrawn, has given an interview. Just as we covered Natasha Liu Bordizzo and Rosario Dawson, let's see what she said. Just like those actresses, she was asked what a favourite episode of Ahsoka is.
Which is the episode that you're most excited for fans to see?
The entire show is one, and it's really a film. Watching it, it's one story, but I would say episode 6.
So the headline from Collider is that she says, Ahsoka feels like a movie, and it really was cinematic when you look at it. When we saw the teaser trailer at Celebration, some of the exclusive footage shown, it does seem very cinematic compared to The Mandalorian, The Book of Boba Fett, and again what we've seen from Skeleton Crew. The vibe is different, it's not got that space western, it's not as gritty, it's more clean, it's like a live action version of Rebels. And so all 8 episodes of season 1 are gonna feel like a film. Natasha Liu said her favourite was the first one, Rosario Dawson said episode 5, and Ivanna is saying episode 6. Let's see what else she says.
So Dave wrote all the episodes this season. What surprised you about the writing that maybe you didn't expect?
I think that Dave has done a brilliant job expanding our understanding of lightness and dark and that spectrum and what comes within it.
Light and dark, the spectrum. There has been some speculation that Baylan and Shin are kind of like Dark Jedi. We know from Making Star Wars reports that they were ex-Jedi, survivors of Order 66. But the lightsabers are orange, and Dave Filoni said that kind of off-orange, inspired by Vader from the original New Hope poster, that has a symbolic meaning. Doesn't mean they're not necessarily Sith, but somewhere in the middle. Like dark side users, who are also Jedi, kind of similar to Mace Windu, but more leaning towards dark than light. That's going to be so fascinating.
What I love about him is that he loves silence. He loves speaking through silence. And that is not surprising, but it's something that I definitely enjoy.
Now, a lot of criticism for The Mandalorian Season 3 is that everything was told to us through the characters. There isn't enough show don't tell. They narrate everything they do, everything that happens around them. Like when Bo-Katan lost her castle, she literally said,
"Let's go respond my home."
But in this show, in the Ahsoka show, everything is shown. It's not told to us.
It might surprise audiences to learn about the making of the series.
I think of Star Wars and the vastness of the world itself. You would be surprised to come to set and see how we are. It's all part of one organism. And it feels like a family, and it feels like a little village.
I guess that's really good for the chemistry between characters, between the actors on set. And she says it felt very small, because unlike the Andor show, just like The Mandalorian, this is all the volume.
I can tease nothing, absolutely nothing. There's 3 words, non-disclosure agreement. There's a lot of fighting going on in the series that I can promise you. Fights are brilliant thanks to our fight coordinator Ming.
I can't wait for the action and the fighting. We did see the lightsaber action in the teaser trailer between Baylan and Ahsoka. She's fighting an Inquisitor, Shin gets her lightsaber out, and in the exclusive footage, you see Sabine Wren using Ezra's lightsaber. So that's going to be fantastic. And some fans think the Inquisitor could be Barriss Offee. I'm not talking about Baylan or Shin, I mean the third one. But share your thoughts in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one. May the Force be with you always.